become the focal point for a tremendous amount of piling on in many ways. So you all sit there in the center of this.
In the late 1960s and early 70s, the United States passed a series of revolutionary environmental laws, including the National Environmental Policy Act, the Endangered Species Act, and the Clean Water Act. At the same time, Americans were moving west and south, leaving the snow and gray skies of the Northeast for the Sun Belt. For 50 years, America has been moving from places that have lots of water to places that don't. Cities in the West and South responded by developing new water supply project plans, but they found things had changed from the times when the old systems were built. If your new water supply involved a dam or even an intake for a pump from a river, you were placing fill in a navigable waterway, and you had to come to the Corps for a permit. Water supply projects, in turn, have become a challenging aspect of the Corps' regulatory program.
The Louisville district's facing some big challenges in water supply permitting. In about the past year, we've denied 2 permits for water supplies. The most recent of which is in Marion, Illinois. That project actually started back in 1989. I just finalized the denial less than a month ago. We had a second denial in Jackson County last year, and I'm currently processing another water supply reservoir in Scott County, Kentucky.
Regulator for about 20 years with the Corps in the state of New Jersey. Involved in a number of water supply projects, including some denials for water supply out in Wyoming, and have 6 EISs ongoing right now for the Front Range of Colorado.
I'm Presley Hatcher with the Fort Worth District. I've been with the Corps for 18 years, I guess. The growth is just going crazy, and basically the bottom line is I'm overwhelmed, we're overwhelmed, and we're having trouble keeping up.
In a 2006 survey, 38 districts said they were handling a total of 148 water supply applications. They told us they expected this number to rise to over 900 in 5 years. About 2/3 of the districts said they'd like help identifying and assessing secondary and indirect impacts, assessing cumulative effects, and minimum flow requirements. One of their primary concerns is determining purpose and need. There is a history of conflict over the determination of how much water a city needs. On November 24, 1990, EPA Administrator William Riley vetoed the Section 404 permit approved by the Corps for the Two Forks Dam near Denver, Colorado. While there have been only about a dozen vetoes out of more than 1.5 million permits, other permit applications have taken as long as 20 years.
That was the one that was EPA vetoed. We put out the notice of intent, did all the scoping in 90, application 93, draft EIS 94, public hearings, notice of intent. Then we went through several iterations of the reservoir design to get impacts down. We received an application for revised design, a lot of avoidance and minimization going through here at the same time. We're talking about purpose and need. Another revised application. This is the final design. Originally we were at about 2,200 acres, down to around 1,500 acres in surface area by the time we got to King William IV. And the final EIS is 1997. A lot more meetings and discussions, and then we finally reached the conclusion. And Bill Eric was involved, I guess, very heavily at this time in looking at the needs issue and analyzing alternatives and the uncertainty and the risk of shortage and all that kind of analysis. Issued the ROD in 1999, announcing our intent to deny it. And 4 days later, the governor.
When a city applies to the Corps for a permit, it probably already has a preferred alternative. But the Corps must consider other alternatives and select the LEDPA, the least environmentally damaging practicable alternative. One of the issues the Corps must address is whether or not additional water conservation would reduce the need or serve as the LEDPA.
And the final permit, which they issued in 2005, and the Virginia Marine Resources Commission, DEQ, issued their permit in 2004. And as of today,
Is there a better way to plan for water supply? There is some hope that a newer method of planning called shared vision planning might help. Shared vision planning combines innovative planning and public involvement with collaborative model building focused on improving results, the economic, environmental, and social outcomes of the planning process. The planning method is an innovative extension of the systems approach developed by the Harvard Water Program under the leadership of Arthur Moss, shown here with Gilbert White at the dedication of the Moss White Library.
For future practitioners.
All right.
A few years after Harvard published these methods, the Northeast suffered the worst drought in the 20th century. New York City threatened to cut off releases from its reservoirs into the Delaware River, a move that could allow salt water to enter the Philadelphia drinking water system. President Johnson intervened in the summer of 1965, and in addition to the emergency measures he imposed, he began the North Atlantic Regional Study. This man, Harry Schwartz, led the study for the Corps of Engineers, and it was he who decided to apply the new Harvard approach. The approach developed on this study became the basis for the federal water planning methods called Principles and Standards. Shared vision planning is based on those methods, but designed specifically for water conflicts in which there are multiple decision makers. The circles of influence style of public involvement in shared vision planning tries to win the trust of people the public already trusts. Planners attend public meetings held by interest groups, rather than just inviting the general public to study meetings. Shared vision planning also pays attention to the interest of the broader public, who may care about widespread benefits to the environment or power production, as well as the special interests of people who live along the body of water in the conflict. The third element that distinguishes shared vision planning is the shared vision model, a computer model of the system in conflict built with the collaboration of experts, decision makers, and stakeholders. Building the model more collaboratively helps build trust in the model.
There were some elected officials who said, "What are you, nuts? We want all those people in the room up front?" Well, they've come to the realization that, they're going to be there anyway. And either they're going to be telling us what we did wrong from the beginning, what we did wrong back at the beginning, that we should have done right, or we're all going to be in the room together identifying how to do it right from the beginning.
For the case study that I want to talk about is the fact that we are implementing SVP with regulatory. We're taking a stab at merging the two.
Shared vision planning has never been used in a regulatory decision, but the Omaha District is going to use it in an experiment on the North Fork of the Cache la Poudre River, where two cities, Greeley and Fort Collins, Colorado, have applied to the Corps for a water supply permit. The experiment will have a limited scope. Stakeholders and decision makers will test different ways to restore the environment along the North Fork of the Cache la Poudre between the Halligan and Seaman reservoirs, the stream bank you are looking at now. If you are interested in hearing more about the Cache la Poudre Shared Vision Test, or want to find out more about shared vision planning in general, contact Hal Cardwell at the Corps Institute for Water Resources.